found the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susy, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anybody who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. And one of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and the co-star of this show, the curator of ingredients, Miss Barbara Bird.
Hey, Susie. So happy to be here, and I can't wait to share all of my adventures in the world of silver bells. Yeah, boy, did I take a deep dive into that one. So let's go.
All right, and let's kick 2024 in the butt and head into 2025. Welcome to episode 432 of the GroomPod, recorded on December 22nd, 2024 in Snohomish, Washington, and Greenville, South Carolina. This podcast is brought to you by our kind sponsors, Best Shot, Show Season, Precision Sharp, Groomore, and Stasco. And if you guys want to support the show, and we do appreciate the support, you can do so at our website, thegroompod.com, where you'll find the donation button that goes straight to Barbara, or our Patreon button where you can join and support the show monthly. This week on the GroomPod, we are talking about the science of drying, and as Barbara was saying, we're going to talk about silver. Now, that's an unusual topic for being on a podcast about dog grooming, so I'm looking forward to that. This week, What's New is brought to you by Groomore Software. If you haven't found Groomore, you're missing out. Groomore is an all-in-one software solution for your grooming business. Whether you are a solo mobile groomer or manage several shops, Groomore has everything you need. 24-hour online booking and forms, routing, credit card processing, reminders, Google Calendar and QuickBooks integration, and so much more. And the best customer service anywhere. Shop mobile or house call, Groomore has you covered. And they're giving us a free month. Just enter GroomPod22 in the coupon code. By the time this hits the air, the holiday season will be wrapping up and we'll be moving on. And I'm very happy about that because it is so wet here. It's just wet. It's been raining. It's like there's a fire hose pointed straight at the Pacific Northwest. And we are muddy and floody and power outages. And at least it's warmer. Yeah, I can understand where people who have seasonal affective disorder really hate it here in the Northwest because it gets dark at 4:23. And it gets light at 8:20 in the morning. So it is a very short day. But by golly, the solstice has happened and the days are going to start getting longer. And I'm so happy about that. But I really don't have anything grooming-wise to talk about other than how much I'm enjoying all of the holiday decorations that are just everywhere in all the neighborhoods. So that's pretty fun. Otherwise, hey, what's going on with you? I saw you were busy on Facebook this week.
Well, I am, because I just go all over the internet reading science stuff for most of the week. And I get submerged in a topic and read a lot of sciences. And I ran into this article that was published as a result of a big world congress of veterinarians. And it was about using veterinary shampoos. And the whole article was long, but there was a segment in there that was like how to use veterinary shampoos. And it just outlined the vet to vet protocol. So this is what the vets were telling themselves. And the only thing that I had to make a kind of adjustments for was that it was written in 2007. So our products had changed a lot, but it was a very interesting to see it laid out that we should be doing 2 shampoos and leaving the medicated shampoo on for 5 to 15 minutes. For sure, use a timer. And rinse with a lot of water for at least 5 minutes to rehydrate the skin and hair shafts. And I added, instead of rinsing for 5 minutes, you could do a good conditioner and leave it on for 5 minutes. And the other thing I amended to that protocol is that you don't really need to use the expensive vet shampoo twice.
They would like you to.
Yeah, because that just serves the product people, not you. You can use a clarifying shampoo or a tearless, gentle shampoo if you've got a sensitive skin. Clarifying shampoo is great if you've got kind of a greasy skin or a real ultra dirty dog. And then a milder shampoo like Show Season True Tearless if you've got a sensitive dog or a situation where the skin is disrupted or really inflamed, likely to irritate, can use that. And then use the medicated shampoo that preps the skin to take on the medicated ingredient that's delivered by the veterinary shampoo.
So just to review, the protocol that the GroomPod recommends, because, we do recommend things. The protocol that we're recommending here is to do some kind of a cleaning shampoo prior. And in my case, I'm using a recirculator. So I'm actually going to do a recirculating bath on the dog prior to the medicated shampoo. Then I'm going to apply the medicated shampoo by hand on the dog directly, set the timer, time it out, rinse it off, apply a good conditioner. Would you use maybe the hypo conditioner from Show Season? Does that sound about right?
That sounds good.
All right. I'm going to use it. I'm doing it from now on. Actually, it was what I was already doing because you've advised me.
I was doing that, but my bathing staff was not necessarily doing that. They were just running the medicated shampoo through the recirculator. That's not going to give the medicated ingredient room to really work.
You know what I did yesterday? I did a Duoxo shampoo on a dog.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. After the soak time, after I let it sit there for 10 minutes, then I rinsed it through with the recirculator. And I just made it sure it got a little bit everywhere before then I rinsed it off.
I know we are recirculator sluts. We just love the bathing beauty and the recirculating system. And I think that when it comes to medicated problems, it's just the cat's meow, so to speak, in cat terms. I can't really compare it to micro bubbles, but the action of the spray really provides a lot of mechanical means to chase off dirt and scales and excess sebum and all of that. And just by the recirculating pressure of the water and a little movement of your hand, you can get that skin so clean and so just like all ready for that medicated shampoo. And then to run the medicated through the recirculator, especially if it's a thick coat or a large dog, it just gets it so thoroughly medicated.
Gets everywhere.
I know. It's one of the main reasons to have a recirculator is from medicated shampoo situations.
Let me tell you about Best Shot's newest addition to the Ultramax Pro line. Ultramax Hair Hold is a flexible hairspray that can be layered on for a stronger hold. Ultramax Hair Hold spray is great, but my favorite new product is called the Max, and I won't groom without it. It's a fragrance-free, ultra-concentrate conditioner and detangler. It reduces drying time and handles undercoat and tangles like magic. Just a few drops in the final rinse or spray it on and dry it in. Contact your favorite Best Shot distributor or learn more online at bestshotpet.com. Grooming success begins with Best Shot in your tub. Made from the best stuff on earth.
Groomers, take your seats. It's time for B-Bird's Classroom.
Well, as I was saying, you were quite busy on Facebook this week, and you posted kind of a quiz earlier in the week, and you put up a little piece of marketing. It was fun. So I'm going to read the piece of marketing here, and you said, put on your thinking cap and tell me what's wrong with the following statement. You have until Sunday. Well, we're here at Sunday, and I'm about to read the statement. It says, do we know where it was from?
Well, it was from the Nexderma people, which I'm going to talk about later on, but we can start it here. Their description of their line.
Okay. As pets age, they lose natural oils in the hair follicles. XX shampoo is formulated with all-natural coconut oil, maintaining hydration, moisturizing the hair, reducing hair follicle breakage that can cause hair to split. The addition of coconut oil improves damaged skin, prevents dandruff, and reduces allergens.
Yeah, so that reduces allergens, that's true. But the business about the hair follicle leads to hair breakage, no, 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 misinformation, incorrect. The hair follicles do not break, and the hair does not break within the hair follicle. Broken ends and hair breakage is caused by trauma to the hair or loss of moisture to the hair shaft and grooming practices. I really had my hopes high for this Nexderma line of products. I saw it on a distributor shopping cart, and I thought, oh, look, some new, more safe, and groomer specific medicated options for groomers because they have 2 ear cleaners, they have 2 kinds of spray, one with cortisone, one with silver nanoparticles. They have a range of products. And I thought, cool. And I was looking really at the ear cleaning, and also they have a skin adhesive for minor cuts and wounds.
Ooh.
It's always a good thing to have in your first aid kit. So I had high hope, high apple pie in the sky hopes for this company. And then I read that statement and I just said, what the fuck?
What a disappointment.
Yeah, it looks as though somebody doesn't know what they're talking about.
Very much so.
It doesn't follow the facts of what we know about skin and hair. Bummer.
For it to be a therapeutic shampoo and then they put that out in the marketing blurb, it does make you question just what they know and what they don't know.
That's right. I'm sure it's just that the marketing people were not well connected with the formulating people.
And then the person who reviewed everything.
Yeah, who proofread that?
Yeah.
If there was somebody that was just proofreading for spelling and not for fact, there's no editing of that, no editor, no critical thinker who could look at that and say, wait a minute, they're confusing hair follicles with hair shaft. Hello, let's get that right. Send it back, ask for correction.
Basic hair anatomy.
It so hurts when I see pet grooming products marketed with misinformation because it just makes us appear as fools, and then it really kind of destroyed my confidence in the company. And their products are not cheap. This needs to be more people that have experts go through the copy before it's put to press.
I've learned that lesson.
I was that person.
I know. I sent my stuff to you.
Yeah.
There we go.
And I've worked with companies about that for that reason. Oh, you can't really say this. This isn't really factual. Here's a suggested alternative statement. So anyway, there's just a lot wrong with that. So what did we say was wrong? Read it again.
Okay, I will read it again.
And I'll stop you when I run into something.
As pets age, they lose natural oils in the hair follicles.
They do tend to not produce the same amount of lipids for the skin and hair.
Do they come out of the follicle?
But the oils and the lipids do not come out of the follicles.
Okay.
The follicle itself is merely a skin sheath or envelope. that envelops the hair shaft until it bursts through the pore at the skin opening.
X shampoo is formulated with all natural coconut oil.
They're just all natural bullshit because they are using sodium lauryl sulfate, cocamide, DEA, MEA.
So we can't make any of that stuff without a lab.
Yes. And even these silver nanoparticles that they use, which is their mystery magical item that I'll talk about later, they have to be laboratory produced. They don't just pop up in nature as nanoparticles. They're not just like ground down silver. The nanoparticles are so tiny that they can go through the skin. Actually, they're using nanoparticles. Silver nanoparticles are called cosmonauticals. Actually, nano cosmonauticals, because they're the synthesis of cosmetic and medicinal ingredients. Cosmonauticals.
I love it. That's a fun word to say. It's kind of like snood. Snood is a fun word to say. Anyway, I digress. Say it again. Cosnauticals.
Cosmonauticals.
Cosmonauticals.
Or cosmonauticals.
Cosmonauticals. It sounds like those things they used to put in when they removed the dog's balls and they wanted to put something in the sack. Cosmonauticals. I'm sorry. Too much holiday grooming has apparently gotten to my brain.
Are they still doing those false balls to dogs?
I don't know if they are.
Well, it got bad press. I don't know if they went on with that. So anyway, what else do they say?
All natural coconut oil.
Well, there's no coconut oil in there.
Right.
No coconut oil in their products. There's coconut monoethanolamide. That's cocamide MEA. That's derivative, and it is synthetic from the lauric acid of the coconut. It's not coconut oil.
All right. Then it says maintaining hydration, moisturizing the hair, reducing hair follicle breakage.
Well, that's wrong. We already said that. They do have a excellent moisturizer, a novel to me, new to me. I'm going to find it in my notes here.
And then they just say the addition of coconut oil improves damaged skin, prevents dandruff, and reduces allergens. But we've already determined there isn't actually any coconut oil in there.
And actually, coconut oil can be an allergen.
Right. We learned that last week.
They have this ingredient called Seraphyll RMT. Never heard of it before. Seraphyll RMT is a unique emollient skin softener, skin conditioner, capable of delivering true moisturization benefits from rinse-off products. So that's a breakthrough. That's an evolution. That's cutting edge. That's cool.
All right.
Glad to see Seraphyll RMT is there, because usually so much of what is in a shampoo just gets rinsed down the drain. It truthfully just gets rinsed down the drain. And this is effective at 0.5 to 5% use levels in rinse-off products such as body, facial, and hand washes, which are suitable to alleviate, which are designed to alleviate dryness. So that Seraphyll RMT does back up their claims for successful moisturization, right?
Yes. Maybe we need that in our hand lotions. Hopefully it'll be coming.
We will look for it.
Yep. Our listeners did pick up on the stuff that was not right in there. We had.
Oh, yeah, they did a remarkably good job.
Yes.
I was so proud of our listeners. I said, oh my, it's soaking in. You're learning. You're learning. I'm so proud.
Yes, we do absorb this stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
Tell us some more about like the silver component because I know that there's like Peace and Kindness from Chris Christensen has colloidal silver in it. But as far as using an element like that in a skin product, how does it work? What does it do?
So silver has been used as a microbial agent by itself for centuries, and it's probably the motivation and basis behind all the silverware products that our grandmothers had that was handed down in the families. Silver, all that silver, um, food handling, food serving, and food eating was all based on the antibacterial benefits of silver. It's gone through a lot of forms and manifestations, and now the hot thing are the nanoparticles, because nanoparticles are one step smaller, well, one giant step smaller than just 10 years ago or 20 years ago colloidal silver. But colloidal silver as a name could possibly be nanoparticles. We need to ask Chris Christensen if they're using nanoparticles, because nanoparticles, being so teensy weensy, are much more effective at killing bacteria than are regular chunks of silver particles, regular chunky.
Normal size molecule.
But either way, I mean, they're never visible in a product, but nanoparticles are like generally 20 to 70 nanometers. And nano is like, you can't get any smaller than nano, or you'll have nothing. They're next to nothing. And interestingly enough, the effectiveness of the silver nanoparticles depends on the size and the shape of the nanoparticles. They have scientifically discovered that certain shapes of nanoparticles, like they tested a rod shape, an oval shape, and a triangular shaped nanoparticles, and the rod shaped ones were the most effective acting. In one experiment, the truncated triangles were, I'm not sure what a truncated triangle is. Truncated triangles can be very effective because how the nanoparticles of silver kills the bacteria is that they blast through the outer membrane of the bacterial cell. And once they do that, they have multiple mechanisms of killing different kinds of internal factors that are within the cell. The strongest property and the reason why silver nanoparticles are a real hope for the future is that they are not subject to resistance, bacterial resistance by the bacteria that they're killing, unlike other antibacterials like chlorhexidine and stuff, where bacteria can recognize the mechanism of destruction and quickly adapt and make a workaround.
Thus becoming resistant?
That's what is at the base of the big problem with antibiotics these days, is that they're not as effective anymore because the bacteria have morphed into a form that can bypass the means of destruction of most of the traditional antibiotics or antibacterial agents. This isn't as possible with silver nanoparticles because they have multiple weapons at their disposal.
Aha. All the different shapes?
I think they all have the same mechanisms, but they do have different shapes. And the size and shape makes a difference. And then, of course, another thing that makes a difference is the time of contact, how much time is on there. It does take time for the silver nanoparticles to penetrate, but boy, they penetrate intensely. In fact, too intensely, because there's a downside to silver nanoparticles, and that's that they're toxic.
Oh,
They actually can go from the surface of the skin through the skin into the blood supply and travel to kidney and livers and cause problems. But that's with massive amounts on a daily basis. It's not what we really need to worry about with a shampoo. However, I would say that if you're going to get one of these Nexderma shampoos and use it on everybody to keep the skin healthy, you better use gloves.
okay.
It may not hurt the dog to have a once in a while nanoparticle bath, but your bather shouldn't be in that stuff several times a week.
That's good to know.
I would say that's a whole area of further study. But I did want to say one thing before we skip off of Nexderm. Their spray and their ear cleaner looks like it might be a good thing, especially the ear cleaner. The silver nanoparticles are very effective against Pseudomonas aeruginosa,
Yay!
our enemy, the doggy's enemy. And Pseudomonas aeruginosa is one of the bacteria that is responsible for prolonged, horrible ear problems that are resistant to regular drugs. So I would say the nano silver ear cleaner is a good thing. And you're not creating resistance by using it, and it's not going to have enough of a surface to cause toxicity. You're just in the ear. So I think it's a good thing. And probably their sprays are good for hot spots, burns, abscesses, sores, rain rot, and more stuff. Did you ever use silver nitrate on horses?
No, but you just said rain rot. And since my horse is standing at the corner of her pasture in the deluge of rain, I'm certain I'm going to have some rain rot coming up. So I may just buy a spray bottle of that and test it out.
It's expensive.
I may not buy a bottle of that and test it out.
It's like $30 for 4 ounces, but it is pretty much state of the art.
My general go-to is Maliceb pads, and I just rub that on there. I wouldn't mind just being able to spray something up there because I really got to clean the area. Oh, well, here's the question, though. If you're using nanoparticles and they're absorbing into the bloodstream, are they taking what's on the skin with them, too? Like if there's some, say, E. coli?
I don't think so. No, I haven't read anything about that.
Okay, good.
They're killing all that shit. But here's another downside. They will kill the friendly bacteria on the surface of the skin as well as the bad bacteria. So there's a certain concern for disruption of the skin barrier function and the microbiome. That's a concern. It's so new. It hasn't totally been studied. There's been a lot of laboratory experiments, in vitro experiments, but not too many in vivo, in the real live animals or people, or clinical studies where half of them get it and half of them don't. Double-blind clinical studies. That work hasn't been done yet. There's been some clinical studies of silver instruments and items for medical purposes. It's used a lot in medicine because it's been a segment of medicine for centuries. And now that's being refined in its usage. And because it doesn't contribute to antibiotic resistance, it's important to explore and to keep it in the toolbox. So the final thing that I wanted to say about the Nexderma is that if you look at the ingredients, and I had to really search around, I got mine off of Pet Edge, you don't see the silver nanoparticles in the list of ingredients. But what you'll see is a styrene acrylic emulsion that's listed, and that is where the silver nanoparticles are hiding. And you also will notice that they always say to shake the product well. You need to redistribute those silver particles before you use it. So don't let things settle down. Just shake well before using. Whenever you see that on a bottle, they mean it.
Cool. I look forward to hearing about this new technology more and seeing if we can't make it a good application for ear cleaners and skin problems and hot spots and rain rot on your horse. I think that sounds great. Okay, let's take a quick break and then we'll be back to talk a little about the science of drying.
Show Season has a great enzymatic cleaner called Kennel Fresh. And you dilute it with warm water and it smells good, and then it evaporates to be a deodorant. As the Kennel Fresh dries, it's enzymatic, it eats the bacteria and the odor source. So it's really good stuff. You can use it indoors or out.
Find it at your local distributors or showseasongrooming.com.
The GroomPod and Precision Sharp would like to invite you to check out the newest precise cut shear called Lynx. Its patented design features a thumb ring that slides the length of the handle for perfect ergonomic placement of your thumb. Slide it, lock it into place, and get your best grooms on. Check it out at precisionsharp.com. Look out, here it comes. It's your mobile moment. So as I mentioned earlier, Barbara, I live in the land of rain, and it is really going strong right now. We've got no complaints. We could have snow. We could have deep freeze. We aren't having any of that. We just have a lot of moisture in the air. And this week I ran into a major challenge getting my big Akita Captain dry. And the thing was kind of a cumulative situation, whereas the whole week long, I have been doing large dogs. I did 2 golden retrievers, then I did 2 Pomskis, which aren't as big size-wise, but have way more hair. I mean, it's crazy how much hair these dogs have. And then culminating in Friday night late, doing the Akita mix. The trailer was raining inside by that time. I mean, it was literally dropping raindrops from the ceiling of the trailer onto my head. It was so wet.
Saturated.
And the floor was soaking wet. I mean, it's rhinoline, so it's meant to be wet, but I was literally standing on wet undercoat, shed off hair that I had blown off from all the rest of the dogs. I would try to vacuum it in the morning, but it never really got dry enough for me to get it all off. So the walls had hair, the floor had hair, everything was raining, everything was moist, and I was trying desperately to get Captain dry. And Captain is a bit of a stoner dog. He is very reactive. And so they give him a lot of CBD. I mean, a lot of CBD. And it definitely takes the edge off, but it makes him a lazy groom in that about halfway through his eyes are starting to go down, and then he decides he might want to lay down. And when the trailer is so wet and he's laying in a wet bathtub and I'm trying desperately to get him dry and the water is falling down from the air back on the dog, I just wanted to scream. I was so frustrated. And then I started to think, well, these people are really cool. And they'll be fine if I bring the dog in with a little dampness on the top of his coat, because really underneath was dry, but the top of his coat just kept feeling wet. I could never get that wetness to go away. So back in '07, and I don't mean 1907, which is what '07 was when we started in this world. We would think 1907, but in 2007, you wrote a magic article that we're going to post up on the GroomPod and possibly on the shampoos list. And it's always available on GroomBlog, which is Barbara's blog page. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to remind all the mobiles out there who are in a finite amount of space, and even shops that are in small spaces, maybe in your home or out in a garage where it's cold and small, how we can combat drying and what's the science behind drying. Barbara, this article that you wrote, I know it's been a while, but I'm going to try to pull some of these facts out of your brain there. So what industries focus on drying? Where does drying science come from? Drying science comes basically from the ceramics industry, the food and grain preparation industries, and the home and carpet renovation industries.
Carpeting.
Yeah, because especially with that home and carpet renovation, when the houses get wet, we had a flood once in the house from a water heater, and getting it dried out, well, that's a process to dry your house out. And it really does stink up everything, and it possibly grows mold and all kinds of stuff. Those people know how to dry stuff. And in the drying process, there's really two ways to get the dog dry. And one of them is the mechanical removal of the water. What's the mechanical removal of the water? What do we mean by that?
That's like chasing it off with a blow dryer. That's where you actually are moving the water off the dog with the air pressure.
Towels too, right? That's kind of mechanical. And the other way that drying happens is through evaporation. Mind you, I am basically recounting Barbara's article, so I'm putting words in her mouth, but they're her own words, so it's allowed. I should get a pass. So water molecules, to evaporate, they have to turn into vapor.
Right.
Is that what we're doing when we're trying to dry the dogs, is blowing it away and turning it into vapor?
Both. Right. Oftentimes we do a two-step thing where we mechanically chase off as much water by toweling and blow drying, and then evaporate while we use a stand dryer or a handheld dryer that usually involves some kind of heat.
But water is very sticky. Surface tension, it makes it cling to stuff. It doesn't want to get off the stuff. So this can be quite a battle. Actually, it's a big part of our day. So how do we reduce that water tension? What kind of things reduce water? Oh, wait. Surface acting agents reduce water tension, don't we? Surfactants.
Yeah. There are fast drying sprays that we spray on the dog that actually breaks the water molecules that are on the dog into smaller particles that can be swished off or more rapidly evaporated, because the mass of the molecule is part of its resistance to the drying.
So you're saying that the products that we use to help us dry the dogs, they really aren't BS. They actually do have a scientific function. There's 3 interrelated components to determine how quickly something dries. And really, that's what I was battling. Boy, it was like a slow boat to China. Remember the old days they used to say that? Oh, gosh, a slow boat to China trying to get this dog dry. The 3 things are relative humidity, temperature, and air movement. And I basically shit on all 3 principles.
I know. So in other words, the reason that you're having trouble drying the Akita mix was your trailer.
It was. And it was operator error too, because this morning I looked out and noticed that my vent was closed. So I had a completely sealed aluminum box.
The thing to do is to try to get some fabric in there. I'd get some Velcro and Velcro tape, and then get some blankets or something that with Velcro tape, and you can just put those up on those kind of days where you've got 100% humidity in your trailer so that the fabric can start taking out some of the moisture from the air, because the only movement of the air that you're getting is the movement that you provide while you're blow drying. And we know that to do a good job, you don't really want to do a lot of waving. However, waving around in the air over your table might not be a bad idea.
I like that thought. So I wonder if people even know what relative humidity is. So I'm going to tell you what relative humidity actually is. The amount of water vapor in the air as expressed by a percentage of what the air's holding capacity is. So if the air's holding capacity is 100% and it's holding 60% humidity, that only leaves 40% of the air to then be saturated with molecules.
Yeah, available to take on more water. You reach a point of 100%, which is when it's raining inside the trailer and the moisture is just falling from the air.
The term for that is condensation.
It might be helpful to have a relative humidity meter in your trailer so that you can kind of see what the reality of the humidity situation is in there at any time.
The big reality is at 60% humidity saturation in the room, the drying is drastically slowed down. So you have just basically come to a stop on this dog because I'm in this environment where all of the molecules are filled with water already and there's just nowhere to go. And in that case, which is certainly the case in my grooming trailer, mold and rust will tend to appear. And I do have a fair amount of rust out there that I deal with every day, and some mold in my walls, which I spray with bleach so that it doesn't overtake the room. So I am dealing with a lot of that. High humidity is the biggest roadblock to drying our dogs. And the solution is a dehumidifier. Number one, if you could put a dehumidifier in there, that really helps. Unfortunately, I don't have power for that. Number two would be an air conditioner. I don't have power for that either. And number three would be fan vents and open windows, which I totally did not do and completely screwed myself there. So open those windows, get that air moving in the room, because air movement is another big part of the drying process. And as you were saying, Barbara, it's important to have a meter that tells you what your humidity is. It is also super important to have a thermometer in the area so you can tell how warm it is, because temperature is another part of the formula. It's got to be warm to change liquid to vapor, which is the evaporation process. And if it's not warm in there, that whole evaporation part of drying isn't really happening. And it definitely wasn't happening for me. I can tell you that for sure. So keeping your space warm, especially overnight. I think what I'm going to do tonight, after I'm done with my day today, is turn my space heater on and warm that interior as warm as I can possibly get it, so I can get the hair dry and vacuumed off the floor and off of my anti-fatigue mats down there. So I think that'll help.
A tool that I would recommend is one of these squeegee brooms. Have you seen those?
I haven't. I'll look those up.
Yeah, they just have a rubber blade that's a squeegee, and you could just really
maybe drive it to the floor and blow it out the door or something.
Yeah.
That's a great thought. Cool. I think I will do that. I'm going to go out there and heat that space inside.
Good idea.
I think that'll help me too. And then the air movement part of it. It's simple to understand, but there's complicated parts of it too. Like, for instance, if you hang your clothes on a clothesline outside, they're going to dry faster if there's a breeze. So that tells you that air movement actually has some effect. But there's something called a boundary layer, which means that the surrounding air around the drying object can become saturated and drying will reduce, which is a much more complicated process.
Yeah, that's sometimes why just a fan, even though you don't really want a fan when it's cold, but just a fan moves the air and acts as an air dryer when the air is saturated. So the accumulation around this space is what happens around your table or tub where you're blow drying moisture into the air literally. So it just collects there. It needs to be moved up into the corner.
So here's another thought for me, possibly. I could get one of those little tiny box fans and somehow suspend it in front of my open window backwards so that it draws the air out.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to look for something like that and figure out a way to mount that right at one of the windows. But if you have wiring to your vent, you probably have a vent fan. I do not have a vent fan. I just have an open the vent or close the vent kind of situation. I think that a fan stuck on the window would help me out quite a bit.
I think so.
So, and then on top of it is the products that you were talking about earlier. And if you use heavy conditioners, it slows the drying process down because it holds onto the water. Is that really the science behind that?
Right, because that's the job of the conditioner, is to draw water to the object and hold it there. A good example of that was the old product we all loved, Refurbish.
Oh, I can smell it.
Yeah, smell it? Well, boy, that product, it really did loosen hair, but it took forever to dry.
It was horrible.
It was so thick and so heavy. Now, thickness is sometimes an illusion in the sense that products can be thickened chemically, and it's not quite the same as being thick with waxy, heavy concentration of cetyl alcohol or cetyl alcohol in there, which there often is. Then it takes longer to dry because those waxy ingredients are holding on to the water.
Newer technology, silicone type conditioners actually aid in drying.
Oh, silicone breaks down the size of the water particles, and it has the slip that causes the water to slip off the wet object. So that's what you get in the car wash when you go through that last drying step.
Yeah.
It sprays on your car and you wonder what the hell this is. And well, it's the silicone phase. Silicones are good for that, and they also do not dry out the skin because they form a protective layer on the hair or the skin that keeps the moisture in place on the body or the hair coat.
And then we have the drying aids that are basically silicones, and you add them on afterwards. That and a really good towel dry. Those two things are what saves me all the time when I'm stupid enough not to open my vent.
Yeah, towel drying. I don't care if you use 3 towels. Do it.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Nothing makes a bigger difference in towel drying, really.
All of the moisture you remove with the towel is not moisture you're going to then throw up into the air, which already is full.
Absolutely. And I've seen groomers that just take a dog right from the tub and start blow drying it without any toweling. And that's so stupid because, I guess if you're out in the open air and it's not too humid, it wouldn't matter. But in a closed area, you're just adding humidity, which slows down drying.
Counterproductive.
To do that. Yeah, counterproductive is all get out. You think you're saving yourself time because you're not toweling, but you're just adding it to your drying time.
And then when you're using those sprays, repeatedly spray the spray on. Spray the spray, dry the area, spray the spray, dry the area, spray the spray, dry the area, so that you're getting a good coverage. All right. Now that we've solved my drying problems forever.
I'm glad my old article served you well.
I'm going to put that up on the Facebook page, and it is more in depth than what I just covered here. It's all Barbara's good science investigating and all that stuff. So I really recommend that everybody check that out if you have any problems getting things dry in your mobile or in your shop, or just in general want to learn how drying works. And hey, we're going to have Melissa Jepson on in a couple weeks, so look forward to that. And yeah, Happy New Year. Welcome 2025. I am so ready. Barbara, thanks for coming this morning.
Oh, I just love being here.
Me too. All right, happy grooming, everyone. See you next week on the GroomPod. Bye-bye now.
Take care of yourselves, because we love you. And I mean that.